All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for lesson 87. I hope you survived lesson 86. I know there's a lot of math there. Again, give me the email if you guys are having trouble with that. I'll try and help you as best I can. Fortunately, lesson 87, I think you're going to find a little bit easier. What we're talking about is dilution. So the idea is you get a contaminated pond. Somebody wrecked their truck. In the process of wrecking their truck into the pond, it dumps all of its battery acid. Battery breaks, shatters, and the battery acid flies into the pond. Maybe this pond is used for the drinking water of some house. The question would be, how could you salvage that pond if given this situation that would potentially make the water toxic? And the answer would be you dilute it. Okay, basically you can take an acid, even if it is a strong acid, you can get the acid to a level that is acceptable if you put enough water into it. And so the question initially is here, you have a sample of drinking water. It's been contaminated with acid. pH is now 4. So what do you think would happen to the pH if you added more water to the sample? Basically, what the pH would do is it would move towards 7. Okay, but what we're going to find out is you can never get past 7. And that's kind of a good thing, because if you got it to where you thought it was 7, you can't really get it to go above 7 unless you add a base to it. It stops at 7 because water is always a 7. So once you get it to a 7, there's nowhere else to go. Same thing is true if it's contaminated with a base. We can bring down the basicity of the solution, but we can't ever get it past 7. If we got it past 7, again, we'd be turning it acidic, and that wouldn't make sense. So it has to stop there at 7. And so, to the second question, do you think you can ever get the pH back to 7? You can get it to 7, but you can't get it to go beyond the 7. So anyway, and more than likely it's going to approach 7. But 7.00001 is pretty darn close to 7, but it's still slightly above 7. So anyway, let's take a look at the board here. I've got 10 milliliters of an acid that is pH of 3. If I dilute that 10 times, put it into 100 milliliters, okay, so 10 milliliters plus 90 milliliters of water added to it, so it has a total of 100 milliliters now, would give me a pH of 4. If I take the 10 milliliters, put it in 1,000 milliliters, it's going to give it a pH of 5. If I take the 10 milliliters, put it into 10,000 milliliters, it's going to give me a pH of 6. If I take the 10 milliliters, put it in 100,000 milliliters, again, 100,000 milliliters is 100 liters. So you're getting a pretty big sample of water that you're going to have to put in there. What we're going to end up with is a pH of 7. Well, a lot of people's thought process is, well, hey, if we keep adding more and more water, this pH has got to keep going up and up and up and up. And that's where you have to stop, because once we added 1,000,000 milliliters, our pH would not go to 8. Because to go to 8, I have to start adding a base. And that we're not doing. It says we're just adding it to water. And so basically what would happen is I would just stay at a pH of 7 once I got past this 100,000 milliliters. Similar type of a situation if I had a pH of 10. Okay, again, this would be some basic water. 10 milliliters, put it in with 90 milliliters, so it becomes a 1 to 10 dilution. That 10 pH is going to drop to 9. Same thing, put it into 1,000 milliliters, pH is going to drop 2. Again, 2 levels of 10. This is why pH, pOH is logarithmic. And so this logarithmic, it always has to be some sort of base 10 dilution to get one full jump on the pH. And so 1,000 gets me to 8, 10,000 would get me to 7. By the same token up here, if I went to 100,000, 100,000 doesn't drop me to 6 because as far as I can go is the 7. So anything again above 10,000 milliliters is going to keep me getting closer and closer and closer to 7, but I can never drop below 7. So last question for this one was, if you got lemon juice in your eye, mama would tell you, go to the water faucet, try and flush it out with some water. Why do we do that? Well, what are we doing when we flush it with water? We're diluting the acid. Again, lemon juice, pretty strong acid. It's a 2.4 pH. It's going to burn if it gets in your eye. Your eye is going to say, ow, that does not feel good. Flush it with some water. That should help dilute the acid. Once the acid is diluted to a 5-6 pH, your eyeball is going to say, okay, that's not so bad anymore, and you'll stop your screaming. So anyway, if you have any questions on this particular section, again, I think this one you'll find pretty easy. Maybe the wording on some of the questions is a little bit tough. So if you need any help with that, tyrick@auhsd.net. Best of luck.